Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. Usually we're looking at history or psychology or some big societal trend, but today we are looking at the future of simulation. And we are doing it through a very specific, very loud lens.
The most anticipated entertainment product in history, arguably.
Grand Theft Auto 6. And I want to be very clear to everyone listening right now, we are not here to fanboy over the trailer.
Right.
We aren't talking about release dates or which 80s songs are on the radio or map leaks. We're doing a deep dive into a stack of technical patents, leak analysis, and architecture documents filed by Take-Two Interactive.
Yeah, we are ignoring the marketing entirely and looking strictly at the math.
Because the claim in these documents is bold. They aren't just claiming to make a better video game with nicer lighting. They're claiming to solve problems in artificial intelligence that have plagued the industry for 20 years.
It's the shift from video game logic to simulation logic. And when you read these patents, specifically the navigation and AI architecture ones, you realize that Rockstar isn't just building a game you play. They are attempting to build a world you visit.
That sounds like a marketing tagline, honestly. A world you visit. It sounds like something right on the back of a box.
I know it does, until you see the patent for virtual navigation and realize they've basically reinvented how a computer decides where to walk.
Well, that is our mission today. We're going to dismantle this black box of AI. We're going to look at the brain, the body, and the memory of this system. So let's start with the brain. Patent US 11684855B2, System and Method for Virtual Navigation. Catchy title.
A real page turner, yeah.
Before we get into the coarse graphs and fine graphs, help me understand the baseline. I play open world games. I've played GTA 5. I've played Cyberpunk. The NPCs seem fine. They walk down the street. They drive cars. Why did this need reinventing? What was actually broken?
Because they aren't actually driving. In almost every open-world game you've played up to this point, an NPC vehicle is essentially a slot car.
A slot car, like the little toys on the electric track.
Exactly. Think about it. The developer lays down an invisible spline, a track right down the center of the lane. The NPC car snaps to that line. It has a basic raycast shooting out the front to see if it's about to hit something, but otherwise, it is glued to that rail.
Which is why in older games, if you park a bus sideways across the road, the traffic just stops. They don't go around.
They can't go around. The rail is blocked. They don't have the agency to leave the lane because the lane is the only world they know. It is computationally cheap, but it's rigid. They are following a script, not making a decision.
Okay, so that's the old way. How does Patent 855 change that?
It introduces a hierarchical system. It splits the brain into two distinct layers. You have the coarse graph and the fine graph.
Break that down for me.
The coarse graph is the strategist. It takes the entire map of Leonida, which we know is massive, and chops it into regions. It's constantly calculating metadata for those regions. Traffic density, road width, speed limits, weather conditions.
So it's like running Google Maps in the background. It knows to avoid I-95 because it's red.
Similar, but deeper. It's doing this for thousands of agents simultaneously. It calculates the desirability of a route before the car even starts the engine. It's low-level processing for high-level decisions. But the real magic, the thing that fixes the slot car problem, is the second layer, the fine graph.
The tactician.
Exactly. The fine graph doesn't use rails. It uses a node mesh. Imagine a spider web of dots covering the entire road, the shoulder, the median, even the parking lots. The car isn't following a line. It's navigating from dot to dot.
So if I block the road with that bus...
The AI looks at the node mesh. It sees the nodes in front are blocked, but the nodes on the shoulder are open. It calculates a spline in real time to swerve around you.
It effectively sees the gap and takes it.
It sees options. That's the difference. The academic analysis we looked at regarding this patent highlights that NPCs can calculate traversability in real time. They aren't stuck on a track. They are navigating a surface.
That sounds incredible for a single car. But GTA is known for chaos. It is known for crowded streets. This is where I get a bit skeptical. You're talking about real-time pathfinding on a node mesh for how many cars?
The documentation suggests they are targeting over 10,000 simultaneous active agents.
Okay, hang on. In GTA 5, if I look backward and then look forward again, the cars would change colors because the game despawned them to save memory.
Right. The typical threshold in previous generations is maybe 50 to 100 active agents near the player. Anything further away is just distinct background noise or despawned entirely.
So how does a PS5 or an Xbox handle 10,000 nodes? It can't. The hardware isn't that big of a leap.
It doesn't. And this is the part of the patent that is really turning heads. It details server-side AI processing.
Wait, does that mean you have to be online to play single player? Because people are going to hate that.
Well, the documents aren't explicit on the always online requirement for the base game, but they describe a hybrid system that suggests a heavy reliance on the cloud. The heavy lifting, the course graph logic for those 10,000 cars, happens in the cloud via batch processing.
Explain batch processing in this context.
Instead of your console asking where does car A go, where does car B go, 60 times a second for 10,000 cars, the server simulates the traffic patterns for the whole city. It does the math in a big chunk of batch, and then streams just the relevant state to your console.
So my console is just a viewport. The thinking is happening in a data center somewhere.
Precisely. It receives the position and vector data. And the implication of this is the persistent world.
Which means?
In previous games, a traffic jam was a visual effect. The game spawned a bunch of cars around you to make it look busy because the script said it's 5 p.m. If you flew away and came back, they'd be gone.
Right. It was a movie set.
In this system, the traffic jam is a simulation. It exists because 500 agents all calculated that the highway was the best route at 8 a.m. If you fly a jet to the other side of the map, those cars are still there, stuck in traffic, slowly moving, even though you can't see them.
That is kind of spooky. It means the world doesn't revolve around the player anymore.
That's the core philosophy shift. You aren't the main character of the simulation. You're just the chaos agent inside it. The world has its own rhythm. The sources mention traffic patterns based on rush hour, specifically 7 to 9 a.m., and reactions to accidents. If there's a crash 3 miles away, traffic backs up where you are.
So I'm sitting in traffic, annoyed because of a virtual fender bender I can't even see.
Welcome to the future of gaming.
Okay, so we have thousands of cars. But are they just improved robots? Because nothing breaks immersion like seeing 50 NPCs all react the exact same way when I honk my horn. They all raise their hands in unison. It's weird.
Yeah, that's the hive mind problem. And to solve it, they've introduced personality vectors.
I saw this in the notes. They actually break down the human personality into sliders.
It's a bit dystopian when you look at the back end, sure. But let's look at the example of Tom. The source material actually names him.
Good old Tom. What's his story?
The documents describe Tom as a guy working a 9-to-5 job. He is tired, and importantly, he is in a rush to get Timmy to soccer practice.
Poor Tom.
In a traditional game, Tom is just a car moving at 30 miles per hour. But in this system, Tom has internal variables. The patent lists specific personality vectors: aggressiveness, patience, risk tolerance, fuel consciousness, and weather sensitivity, all scaled from 0.0 to 1.0.
So Tom has a patience score.
And an urgency score.
Yeah.
So let's say Tom hits that traffic jam we mentioned. His urgency is high because of soccer practice. His patience variable is low. If his patience drops below, say, 0.3, which the document cites as a threshold for an impatient driver, his behavior changes.
He snaps.
He creates emergent gameplay. He doesn't wait. He looks at that node mesh we talked about, sees the shoulders open, and takes it. He might hop a median. He might cut you, the player, off aggressively. Not because the game scripted an event called car cutoff, but because Tom's internal math decided he was done waiting.
That is wild. It means if I drive slow in the fast lane, I'm actually making the AI angry.
You are interacting with a personality, not a slot car. And different drivers have different profiles. A cautious driver with low risk tolerance will behave completely differently in that same traffic jam than Tom would. They might leave extra space. They might refuse to turn right on red.
So you're not just interacting with traffic, you're interacting with 1,000 individual moods. That feels like it adds a layer of unpredictability that we haven't seen before.
Unpredictability is the key word.
Yeah.
It stops it being a pattern you can memorize.
Okay, let's move from the mind to the body. Because all of this brain power doesn't matter if the character looks like a puppet. We've all seen the video game Walk, you know, where the character's feet slide a little bit because the walking animation doesn't match the speed they're moving.
Foot sliding, the bane of every animator's existence.
So the patent here, US 11620781, virtual character locomotion, seems to want to kill off the idea of canned animation entirely.
It's the death of the massive library. Traditionally, developers build massive libraries of pre-recorded movements. Walkforward.mp4. Runscared.mp4.
Walkholdingcoffee.mp4.
Exactly. But what happens when you need walk holding coffee while limping in rain?
You probably don't have that file.
Right. It's a combinatorial explosion. You can't record every possibility, so you'd end up with characters who just look generic or they clip through objects. This new patent describes a system of modular building blocks.
Like Legos for movement.
That's a great analogy. The source gives a fascinating formula. It says, Unique movement equals the sum of context. It takes the base walk layer. It applies a limp modifier to the legs due to an injury variable. It applies a constraint to the right arm for the coffee cup. And it applies a huddle posture for the rain.
It blends them in real time.
It synthesizes a unique animation frame by frame. It means you might see a movement, a stumble, a flinch, a way of leaning against a wall that no other player has ever seen exactly that way before, simply because the variables lined up that way.
That ties into the Rage 9 engine physics we've read about too. The Euphoria physics engine has apparently evolved.
Euphoria has always been about dynamic balance. But the leak suggests Rage 9 takes this to an extreme. Instead of playing a fall-down animation when you shoot someone, the character's body physically reacts to the impact force. They stumble, they try to catch their balance, they reach out for a wall to steady themselves.
And the water physics, I saw that in the source. Real-time physical simulation of water.
Yes, which is historically a nightmare for computers. Usually water in games is just a flat sheet that wobbles up and down.
A texture.
Right. The sources suggest this is actual volume simulation. If you walk through waist-deep water, the water physically pushes back against the legs. The character has to fight the current. This suggests activities like surfing won't just be a mini-game, they will be physics simulations.
So we have a world that thinks, feels, and moves realistically, but doesn't remember. Because one of the coolest and maybe scariest things I read about was the persistent memory system.
This is where the simulation aspect really kicks in. The sources state that NPCs remember player actions.
So if I terrorize a specific neighborhood, if I'm always causing trouble on Ocean Drive,
The residents of Ocean Drive remember you. And it's not just a generic reputation bar that goes from good to bad. It is specific to interactions. If you keep harassing people on one street, they might flee on sight before you even do anything. Or they might become hostile.
they might jump me.
They might hold a grudge. And this connects to the social media integration. The sources mention that NPCs are active participants. They have phones, they film crime.
Oh, wow. So if I rob a store, someone is live streaming it.
Yes. And that footage spreads organically through the in-game network. This affects how store clerks or police react to you later. You gain notoriety, not just because the game says you have 5 stars, but because your face is on the virtual internet.
That leads us perfectly to the police. We can't talk GTA without talking about the cops. Historically, they have been, let's say, psychic.
The omniscient cop problem. You shoot a gun in the middle of the desert with no witnesses, and 30 seconds later, a squad car knows exactly where you are.
It turns the game into a horde mode. You just shoot until you die.
Everyone hated it. The new AI, according to the leaks and analysis, fixes this. Police now rely on witness descriptions and line of sight.
So if nobody sees me, the cops don't know it was me.
Exactly. They need a description. Clothing, vehicle model. If you commit a crime and take out the witnesses or destroy the cameras, the police don't come.
That completely changes the rhythm. It incentivizes stealth.
And even when they do come, they conduct realistic searches. They don't just spawn on top of you. They set up perimeters. They dispatch units. The sources mention dispatch timers. They give you a window to plan an escape before the net closes.
It sounds like it turns a police chase from an arcade game into a stealth strategy game. You have to actually outsmart them, not just outrun them.
It forces you to think. If you change your car and your clothes, you might actually slip past a perimeter because you no longer match the description.
Now, we have to talk about where all this is happening. The world itself, the environment. We've heard about procedural interior generation. Does that mean we can finally go inside the buildings?
A lot more of them. The patent for this describes generating interiors based on tags. So developers don't have to hand place every chair in every apartment.
That would take forever.
Right. They can tag a building as downtown apartment and high-end, and the system populates it with clean, expensive decor. If it's a rundown area, they use tags like worn down, rusty, or cheap.
And this allows for scale.
The source mentions around 700 enterable buildings. That is a massive leap for an open-world city. It makes the city feel like a city, not a movie set made of cardboard boxes that you can't open.
And then you add the weather on top of that. We mentioned rain earlier with the animation, but it affects gameplay too, right?
Significantly, the weather isn't just a visual filter. High winds affect driving physics. Rain reduces NPC driving speeds by roughly 25% and increases their following distance
Because they are programmed to be safer?
because they want to avoid accidents. And NPCs will seek shelter. They will cover their heads. If the forecast is bad, they might cancel outdoor activities entirely. The world reacts to the climate.
Before we wrap up the tech side, I want to clarify something. We've used the term AI a lot, and there is a lot of controversy right now about generative AI replacing creative jobs. The sources actually touched on this with a quote from Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick.
Yes, and this is an important distinction. When Zelnick talks about AI in GTA 6, he is clarifying that generative AI is being used for tooling and efficiency. It is helping them build the stage, organizing assets, generating those interior layouts we talked about.
So it's not writing the story.
No. The dialogue, the story, the soul of the game that is human-crafted. The AI is there to handle the sheer scale of the simulation, to make Tom drive like a stressed-out dad, not to write the plot of the game.
That is good to know. It's using AI to make the world richer, not to make the development cheaper, necessarily.
Exactly. It's about capability, not replacement.
So let's bring this all together. We have covered a lot of ground today. We've got
Yeah.
the brain, that dual-layer navigation that lets NPCs think fast and slow using node meshes. We've got the scale, cloud processing handling 10,000 agents so traffic jams are real simulations. And we've got the body, procedural animation that reacts to every limp and raindrop.
Those are the three pillars.
Yeah.
And when you combine them, you get to that aha moment. You realize that this technology blurs the line between a game and a simulation. The world of Leonida runs even when you aren't looking at it. It has its own rhythm, its own logic.
It's honestly a little intimidating. It sounds less like playing a game and more like visiting a place.
That is the goal. Immersion through complexity.
Mm.
They want you to feel like a small part of a big machine.
And that leaves me with a final thought for everyone listening, and it's a weird one. We are used to treating NPCs like bowling pins. We run them over, we mess with them, we don't care. They are code.
Right. They were just obstacles.
But if Rockstar pulls this off, if Tom has a bad day and memories and a fear of being late and he flinches realistically when you point a gun at him, at what point does playing the game turn into disrupting a functioning digital society?
It raises a moral question, doesn't it? When the simulation gets too good, the chaos stops being funny and starts being disturbing.
Does the Grand Theft Auto chaos feel different when the victims feel real? That is something for you to chew on while we wait for the release.
It certainly makes you think twice about running that red light.
Exactly. Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you on the next deep dive.